Vietnam is a small and a beautiful country with such a full history, deep patriotism, and a beautiful landscape. Located in South Asia, and Vietnam is one of the Asian countries. Exploring the beautiful of the country with its people and culture should be done once in a lifetime. Vietnam is located on the East Indochina Peninsula in South Asia, and Hanoi is its capital. Therefore, with a covering an area of 311,699 square kilometers with more than 96 million people, it is bordered by China in the north, Laos and Cambodia in the west, and share a maritime border through Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia through the South China Sea. It is famous for its ancient history, diverse culture, and a natural landscape. The land has been center of trade, cultural interaction, and even conflict for centuries. It has proven that Vietnam has a favorable position in the region with a long beach and many attractions. Having a tropical climate, Vietnam is famous for its beautiful scenery or colorful hill trips to the vast red fields of the Red River Delta and the Mekong River Delta, to majestic mountain and white sandy beach. Vietnam nowadays is on a can't-miss destination in Asia.
I'm going to explain history about China. First, 1887 became part of French Indochina. 1945 until 1954, First Indochina War. 1954 is gained independence. 1954 until 1975, Vietnam War. 1975 until 1976, unification of North and South Vietnam. For the political background, their independence on 2nd of September 1945. They form a government by a communist state. Head of the state is President Nguyen Tran Phuong. Economic background, growth rate at 2.9 at 2002. They are using currency by dong. For the social background, the population of Vietnam is 98.5 million. For the ethnic group, they are Việt, Tay, Thai, and Hmong. For the religion, most of them are using Buddhist and Catholic. For the language, they are using Vietnamese, English, and French. Culture aspect. Clothing of Vietnam is art toy. Vietnamese white long dress, national costume that symbolic beauty and elegance.
The next is political system. First, the politics of Vietnam is dominated by a single party, the Communist Party of Vietnam, or CPV. The President of Vietnam is the head of state and the Prime Minister of Vietnam is the head of government. Both of these are spread from the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, who leads the Communist Party and is head of the Police Bureau and the Central Military Commission. Thus, the General Secretary is the de facto supreme leader of Vietnam. Also, they lead the society to win all the victories of the Vietnam's nation. Next is the National Assembly is the higher level representative body of the people, the highest organ of the state of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. The National Assembly exercises three main functions. First, to legislative, two, to decide on important national issue, and last, to exercise supreme supervision over all activity of the state. And next, the state president is the head of state, elected by the National Assembly from among its deputies to represent the Socialist Republic of Vietnam in domestic and foreign affairs. The president has 12 powers as provided by the Constitution, of which the most important are to declare the promulgation of the Constitution, law, and ordinance, to head all people armed force, and assume the chairmanship of the National Defense and Security Council, to recommend to the National Assembly the election, removal or dismissal of the Vice President, the Prime Minister, Chief Justice of the Supreme People Courts, and head of the People Procuracy. And finally, the last one is the government is the highest body of state administration of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. The government consists of Prime Minister, who is a National Assembly deputy as provided by the Constitution, Deputy Prime Minister, Ministers, and other members. The government has the same term as office as the National Assembly. The government administers the implementation of the state affairs in the fields of politics, economy, culture, society, national defense, and security. Assures that the Constitution and laws are respected and executed and guarantees the sustainability and improvement of the people, material, and spiritual life.
Vietnam was among the poorest performing countries in terms of the transparency, ranking 107 among 118 nations with a score of 35 out of 100. Vietnam has a leading agriculture exporter and a distributed destination for foreign investment in South Asia. Vietnam economy has a peak with the country ranking as the third largest economy power in East and South Asia. Vietnam is one of the few countries in a modern history to suffer a severe economic downturn during the post-Reconstruction period. Vietnam is integrating into the global economy in the 21st century. Almost all the Vietnam business are small and medium-sized. Vietnam economy in the wake of COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected the economy on both the supply and demand front.
For the domestic political issue Cambodia and Vietnam have enjoyed strong and deepening bilateral ties. The unfinished demarcation of their land border has caused persistent dispute between the two countries. At least Vietnamese immigrants in Cambodia remain a long-standing problem that has been exploited to the full national and anti-Vietnamese sentiment in Cambodia. Thank you.
Next is security in Vietnam. First, although official perception of the most challenging security threats and the priorities attached to them were largely shaped by the external environment and the internal situation, there are four major security challenges that Vietnam has confronted since the end of the Cold War. There are economic weakness, regime security, territorial sovereignty, and non-traditional security issues. Number 2, economy will be in danger of further lagging behind due to insufficient resilience while coping with the serious impact of the global financial crisis and economic recession. Next, non-traditional security issues such as illegal trafficking of weapons and drugs, privacy, organized transactional crimes, terrorism, illegal migration and immigration, environmental degradation, climate change, and epidemics continue to concern Vietnam. Vietnam needs to improve its interoperability capacity to effectively coordinate its maritime domains and skies. Vietnam has also applied significant efforts to training and retraining to transform its military into modernized and professional one. Lastly, Vietnam's interest in the South China Sea may be divided into traditional national security interests linked to the broader category of human security.
As with many other Asian nations, the concept of the face is extremely important to the Vietnamese. Face is a tricky concept to explain but can be broadly describe a quality that reflects a person's reputation, dignity, and prestige. Vietnamese culture is strongly influenced by a government-controlled culture and media program. It is possible to lose face, save a face, or give face to another person. Companies as well as individuals can have a face or lose face. Vietnamese culture is influenced by social culture program in government-controlled media. For foreigners, it is important to be aware that you may intentionally cause a loss of face. It is important to be aware of your words and action. Understanding how face is lost safe of given it critical. Traditional Vietnamese culture focus on humanity and the harmony of family and community value in emphasis. Someone can be given face by complimenting them for their hospitality or business acumen. Accusing some poor performance of reprimanding the public will lead to a loss of face.
Next is the social. We talk about the social. Corruption in Vietnam is pervasive and
widespread due to the weak legal infrastructure, financial unpredictable, and conflicting and negative bureaucratic decision-making. Survey revealed that the YPT corruptions has decreased slightly throughout the country. High-level corruption has significantly increased as a means of abuse of the political power. Corruption is a very significant problem in Vietnam, impacting all aspects of administration, education, and law enforcement. Corruption is not old news in Vietnam. The country struggles to fight corruption as the public is kept in the dark about official wealth. According to Transparency International in 2011, the country is among the poor performing country in the term of transparency, ranking 107 out of a 180 country with a score of the 35 out of the 100. Corruption is widespread in all sectors in Vietnam in the form of the bribes, gift, favor, and corruption is considered an obstacle for doing business in Vietnam, and the use of facilitation payments are widespread when a deadline with a frontline civil servant in all levels of society. The survey revealed that YPT corruption has decreased slightly across the country. High levels of corruption has increased significantly due to the influence of a political power, weak rule of law, bureaucracy, and an ambiguous legal framework make it more difficult to bring perpetrators to justice. Since 2017, in an unprecedented effort to curb corruption and clean up the ruling Communist Party, General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong has therefore launched a national anti-corruption campaign in investigating high-profile corruption cases, revealing the extent and severity of corruption in a corporate circle in Vietnam. Political elite, although the success of the campaign is difficult to judge, many people hope it can set an example and serve as a warning to work to be an offender.
In conclusion, Vietnam is now a country with a variety of attractions such as food, interesting traditional clothing, amazing culture, traditional festival, and beautiful vacation spots such as Hanoi. Furthermore, good governance and politics in Vietnam has been recognized as a stable polity in Southeast Asia and give a good reflection to foreign countries, which can help Vietnam's economy grow further.